Picture it. It's 1952. You're working for Walt Disney, and the man himself comes to you with a grand idea for a family park to be built adjacent to the Walt Disney Studios. He's assembling a team of dreamers to help him plan, design, and eventually build Disneyland. Then those plans start to grow. Disneyland becomes something special, something different than what was originally just going to be a park supporting the studio. So different that Walt and his brother Roy set up Disney Inc. to make sure that Disneyland was separate from Walt Disney Studios. You're now part of a team that has become the first generation of Disney Imagineers. And what is an Imagineer exactly? They're illustrators, architects, engineers, lighting designers, show writers, graphic designers. They're the pixie dust that fuels the magic behind the Disney parks. Here's a fun fact that isn't widely known. A lot of people assume that the word Imagineering was invented by Disney, but it was actually a phrase that was first used in World War II propaganda. In 1942, an aluminum, or aluminium if you're British, company named Alcoa published a newspaper ad in a bunch of big cities to encourage the purchase of war bonds. The ad features an American soldier shooting at stereotypical caricatures of Hitler and a Japanese soldier. But below it is a discussion on buying war bonds, as well as the usefulness of aluminum and why Imagineering matters. The term wasn't just a small marketing footnote created for that ad. It was the center of a major campaign to ensure that everyone knew how important aluminum was to the war effort. This ad calls out, for a long time, we've sought a word to describe what we all work at hard here at Alcoa. Imagineering is that word. Honestly, you could have told me that this was a quote from Walt Disney himself, and I would have totally believed it. And indeed, when Walt decided that his new team of visionaries would be known as Imagineers, the term slowly started to morph into a Disney-branded term. And during the now famous Florida Project documentary, Walt Disney himself put forth that no one can do Imagineering quite like Disney. At that point, Imagineering had been firmly co-opted by the company for the company, even though it had clearly existed at least 20 years previously. In 1989, it officially became a registered trademark of Disney Enterprises, and Disney Imagineers have become some of the best, most magical creators in the world. Let's take a look at game-changing Disney innovations that came out of Imagineering. Audio-Animatronics. It's hard to imagine a Disney park that isn't filled with these robotic representations of people, animals, and of course ghosts and pirates. Disney's Audio-Animatronics set a gold standard for immersive entertainment and storytelling. They're one of the key contributors to the parks. Can you imagine a Disney dark ride without one? As a kid, I was amazed by the technology and could not get enough of them. Honestly, I still can't get enough of them. And to think, it all started with a bunch of birds. Walt Disney was fascinated by automatons. As a child, Walt was captivated by anything that moved and told a story, and in the early 20th century, automata were popular attractions at fairs and museums. The intricate devices combined artistry with engineering and storytelling, all themes that deeply resonated with Walt Disney. While visiting New Orleans, Walt purchased a mechanical singing bird and thought, we've been doing animation in films for years. Wouldn't it be fun to try something more three-dimensional like this bird? Walt had some of his studio technicians take it apart to figure out how it worked and also probably figure out how they could make a ton of cash with it. Let's be honest, they like cash. And that brings us to the Enchanted Tiki Room, which was the birth of the Audio-Animatronic. That group of singing birds led to something more complicated, bringing Abraham Lincoln to life for the 1964 World's Fair. I think it would have been way easier to simulate Lincoln at Ford's Theater, but that's another reason why they won't let me be an Imagineer. Seriously, they said no. With an amazingly lifelike Lincoln under their belts, Imagineering opened the floodgates, leading to Pirates of the Caribbean, which features around 120 animatronics, and the Haunted Mansion with its 109. Hey, wait a minute. I thought there were 999. That's like 890 short. And yes, I totally just used the calculator to do simple arithmetic. Hey, sue me. Today, audio animatronics are at the heart of almost every Disney attraction, and new technologies have made them incredibly lifelike. The Roz figure inside Mike and Sully to the rescue will even interact with riders. Are you telling me that the ultimate goal here isn't to take over humanity? Look at that Navi's shaman, or Kylo Ren. Are you telling me those robots aren't going to eventually gain sentience? I mean, just look at the Expedition Everest Yeti. Okay, don't look at that. You know what? Wait, you know what? Maybe humanity is safe. The OmniCoaster. Yes, I said coaster. Were you guys expecting another end to that contraction? You know, fine. We'll start there. When Disneyland opened, it proved popular. Like, super popular. And that led to an issue with ride capacity. How do you accommodate the intricate storytelling that Disney was known for when there are literally thousands of people wanting to experience these rides every day? In the 60s, Imagineers Bob Gurr and John Hinch were tasked with solving this problem with a new ride system. The goal was to create a system that could provide continuous guest movement, direct guests' attention to story beats, and also allow for creative storytelling by isolating each ride vehicle's view. Inspired by the Skyway and the People Mover, the Omni Mover made its debut in 1967 with the Disneyland ride Adventure Through Inner Space. Vehicles move along a conveyor-style track without stopping, which increases ride capacity by a huge amount. But each vehicle can also rotate 360 degrees that are completely controlled by ride programming, ensuring that guests see what Disney wants them to see, immersing them in the attraction's narrative without distractions from other vehicles. Well, I guess they could still look at the back of the OmniMover car. That would just be willfully defiant. The OmniMover soon reached peak coolness with the Doom buggies of the Haunted Mansion, and now, decades after its inception, remains a staple in the Disney parks due to its efficiency, storytelling capabilities, and its basic ability to cause joy for all guests who board its always moving, always turning ride vehicles. It left Imagineers with one lingering question. What if we made it go really fast? And that's exactly what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, the amazing storytelling coaster at Epcot. Unlike traditional spinning coasters, the OmniCoaster's rotation is programmatically controlled. The ride vehicles rotate a full 380 degrees in synchronization with story elements. It integrates the story with the thrills, so instead of just pretending that you're fighting alongside the Guardians, you're fully immersed in the world as you jump through gates, get launched backwards through time, and shoot through the galaxy. It allows Imagineers to tailor the experience for riders and make sure that every seat provides an equally compelling view from the moment you enter and your car swings to face the massive celestial lumbering in front of you. It's combining a roller coaster with the dark ride and spitting out an exciting hybrid of the two. Really, it's a perfect example of what Imagineering is known for. Now let's go upgrade those Doom buggies with OmniCoaster technology and really blow some minds. I ghost really fast. Trackless dark rides. We all love dark rides, right? And we've established that no one does them like Disney. When you look back at some of the classics, you think one thing. There's not a single way I'd improve any of them. They're perfect. Dark rides are iconic, getting their start in the early 20th century at fairs and amusement parks. They featured simple tracks that would guide guests past painted scenery and props. By the 1920s, pretzel rides were becoming popular. These electric rail rides featured tight turns and basic mechanical effects like skeletons or ghosts popping out of the dark. After World War II, these rides began to become more and more popular as amusement parks began to expand their attractions. Animatronics, blacklights, and synchronized audio began elevating the experience. That's when Walt Disney crashed the party and asked everyone to hold his beer as he unleashed Peter Pan's Flight, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and Snow White when Disneyland opened in 1955. And we all know how quickly things progressed from there. But there was one thing that remained in place over 100 years. That thing? The track. No matter how immersed you were in the ride, There was always a track that was determining where you travel through the attraction. Imagineers started thinking, what if we weren't limited by a track? Just like that, Pooh's Honey Hunt at Tokyo Disneyland became the first trackless dark ride. But how does it work? Through wireless navigation, of course. Sensors on board each ride vehicle follow a mapped out route using GPS systems or in some cases LiDAR. That stands for light detection and ranging. I just had to look it up. And that guides the vehicles through the environments. Once again, it leads to better immersion. That's one of the keys to all of these innovations. Imagineers are always looking to find ways to better immerse guests. It leads to better storytelling, and that's ultimately what Imagineers are tasked with doing. Telling stories in a way that hides all of the strings. They're magicians. They want you to be surprised without realizing that you're being manipulated to feel that way. And trackless rides have just been getting better and better. From Ratatouille and Mystic Manor, all the way up to Rise of the Resistance, arguably one of the most immersive experiences at any theme park. Living characters. I feel like we've talked a lot about animatronics. You know one thing that's always bummed me out? They kind of stand there in one spot. You must get bored, right? What? They aren't alive. Oh, you thought I didn't know they were robots. That's ridiculous. Why would I ever think they were like actual people, living people? Oh, I need to make some changes in the direction of this entry. So, everyone knows that audio-animatronics are robots and not living creatures, so they're totally unable to get bored due to their lack of feelings. But wouldn't it be cooler if they were one step closer to replicating the living? That's where Imagineering's Living Characters initiative began. It was a project intended to create interactive shows and characters at Disney theme parks, combined a bunch of technologies to create new levels of guest interactions, starting with Lucky the Dinosaur at Disney's California Adventure in 2003. Lucky was able to walk around DCA, vocalize, interact, and even sign autographs. Following Lucky was the Muppet Mobile Labs in 2007. Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and his assistant Beaker were brought to life through remote-controlled puppeteering and would travel around in their mobile laboratory, encouraging park visitors to take part in their experiments. Not a great idea, by the way. 8 cameras were concealed within the unit, including one built into Bunsen's glasses that allowed him to make eye contact with guests. Again, we're talking about increasing that level of immersion. It's a special type of magic when you know something isn't really alive, but then it makes eye contact and it allows you to suspend disbelief. That's a whimsical moment that was engineered precisely for that reason, to convert anyone that was skeptical about meeting a Disney character. As an Imagineer, you never want a person leaving an interaction thinking, that was just a guy in a suit. It eventually led to a talking Mickey Mouse that first debuted in Toontown at Disneyland and then made its way to the Town Square Theater on Main Street in the Magic Kingdom. Mickey featured a sophisticated mask with moving mouth and blinking eyes. Those facial animations were synchronized with Mickey's speech and really sold the illusion that you were in fact talking to the one and only main mouse. Although Disney has never officially unveiled how it worked, he appeared to be equipped with a library of pre-recorded phrases and responses, all controlled by a hidden cast member choosing which phrases to use based on the flow of conversation. Mickey could greet guests by name, ask about their day, and even respond to simple questions. It was amazingly effective, especially for children. Unfortunately, Talking Mickey was silenced in 2018. The operational challenges required to keep him running smoothly were just too hard to maintain, especially considering the additional time required for interactive conversations were leading to longer and longer lines. Forced perspective. Walt Disney revolutionized entertainment on the big screen. So when it came time to build Disneyland, he brought his experience with cinematic storytelling into the real world of his theme park. He wanted to craft his parks so that it felt like you were stepping into one of his movies. Walt approached the park design like a director approaches a film. Every guest needed to feel like they were the star of their own story. Disneyland was designed with transitions in mind, just like a well-edited movie. The pathways move smoothly between the different lands, creating seamless scene changes. In movies, set design creates the world, so it figures that it should do the same for the Disney parks. That's why Disney used a film trick, forced perspective, to make the sets appear so much bigger than they actually are. Next time you're on Main Street, take a look at the second floor of the buildings. They actually get smaller as they rise, making the street appear longer and the castle more towering, just like in the movies. Forced perspective is a design technique used in architecture to create the illusion of scale and depth. Disney Imagineers have become masters in this technique. It's yet another way they employ that immersive storytelling. Crazy how that phrase has popped up in pretty much every one of these entries. Almost like it's one of the main components of Imagineering, huh? We've talked about how they use it with their castle and Main Street designs, but it's also hugely, pun intended, part of their mountains. You think Expedition Everest is really that big? No, it's more forced perspective. Making the distant elements scaled smaller creates the illusion that they're farther away. And it all works together to create a sense of scale and grandeur, allowing Disney to create the illusions of expansive environments within the limited space of their theme parks. Not only showcases Imagineers' attention to detail, it also elevates the visual appeal of the parks and allows them to create magical experiences. From the first spark of imagination to the groundbreaking innovations that shape the parks today, Disney Imagineering has redefined what's possible in entertainment. It's passion, it's technology, it's creativity, all working together to provide unparalleled storytelling. 70 years ago, all of that Imagineering culminated in Disneyland. The world was changed then, and through the decades, it continues to be shaped by the Imagineers that work every day creating dreams. So keep dreaming, and keep aspiring to create magic. There's a lot of bad stuff happening in the world, and a little magic can go a long way. I can't wait to see what innovations are coming next because, well, I guess I like magic.